Okay, so this is chapter 1, section 4, and we're just talking about linear functions and slopes. Now, a linear function is just a straight line, and slope, or rate of change, is the ratio of the vertical change to the horizontal change. You guys are familiar with, at this point in your math career, with slope. This is the slope formula right here, and really it's just the change in y over the change in x, or rise over run. Now we can talk about a positive slope. This would be a positive slope here. We can talk about negative slopes. We can talk about zero slope and undefined slope. So these are the two that people confuse the most. If you have a horizontal line, it has a zero slope. If it's a vertical line, it's undefined. There is no slope. It's undefined. It's also not a function. It doesn't pass the vertical line test, so we know it's not a function. And there's three different linear formulas that you're going to need to know. The first one is point-slope form. This is when you're given a slope and a point. And slope-intercept form. So this is the one you're probably most familiar with. This is where you're given a slope and you know your y-intercept. And the general form, ax plus by plus c. A, b, and c must all be integers. And a is typically positive. Okay. Now, if we have horizontal lines, again, y equals some number here, and this is no slope or zero slope, or no x, I'm sorry. And vertical lines here, if we have x equals some number, we don't have a y, and the slope is undefined. Now, let's look at a couple examples here. We're given 2 points, and we need to find the slope. So first thing I want to do is use the slope formula. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So negative 1 minus 4, and then 3 minus 4. And that's, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, not 4 here. This should be y2 minus y1. This is a 1 right here. And then we have negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2 over negative 1. So our slope would be 2. And we can also do another example here. Again, x1, y1, x2, y2. So negative 2 minus negative 4. And then we have x2, 4 minus 6. And a negative times a negative is a positive. So we have positive 2 on top and negative 2 on bottom. So our slope is negative 1. Now it says write the equation of a line through 10, negative 4, and our slope is negative 3 over 5. We want to use all three forms of a linear equation here. So our first one, we'll go ahead and do point-slope form. Okay. Now we know our slope and we know a point, so plugging that in is really easy. We have x1 and y1, and this is our slope. So we have y minus y1, which in this case is negative 4, equals our slope, times x minus x1, which in this case is 10. And so that would be y plus 4 equals negative 3 over 5 times x minus 10. And that's our answer. Now, slope-intercept form, well, we don't know what our y-intercept is, so we're going to need to find that. We do know our slope, though. Another way to do that is to distribute this negative 3/5 and subtract 4. And negative 3 over 5 is going to give us y equals negative 3/5 x. And then we have negative 3/5 times negative 10. Well, negative times a negative is a positive. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtracting 4 from both sides, we're going to get plus 2. And that's now in slope-intercept form. And then the last one, general form. From here, what I can do is I can multiply by 5 everywhere. Okay, so if I do that, I have 5y equals negative 3x plus 10. And then I can get everything onto one side, and I have 3x plus 5y equals 10. Getting the 10 on the other side, I have 3x plus 5y minus 10 equals 0. And then we have our last question here. We have an equation and we need to graph it. Okay, so I'm going to use the intercepts, and the key there is plugging in zeros. So right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so plugging in 0 for x, so my x value is 0. Then I can just cover up that term and get rid of it. Subtracting 15 to the other side and divided by 5 is going to give me negative 3. 1, 2, 3. So we had the point 0, negative 3. And then we can plug in 0 for y. And plugging in 0 for y, we can cover up the y term there. Subtracting 15 and dividing by 3 is going to give us negative 5. So negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's our equation right there. And that's how we can graph using intercepts. So that's the end of section 4. And we'll move on to section 5.